but it's shaken me to my core.
Oh my God, he's coming out.
Why, yes. There is a man who's sort of recently come into my life, and that man is Jesus Christ.
That's way worse.
Glee was probably the most confusing show of my childhood. It is utterly ridiculous, yet has some moments that genuinely shaped who I am today. It's a show with incredible songs, scenes that shed light on uncomfortable topics, and had pop culture in a chokehold. Yet, Glee also had some really problematic moments too. I'm not here to talk about all of that because if I were, I would be here for several hours. No, I'm here to talk about my favorite, absolutely batshit crazy, ridiculous plotline, and discuss how it intertwines incredibly well with a really serious topic that many teens grapple with. Let's talk about how Glee took on religion. The episode opens up with Finn making a grilled cheese, and wouldn't you know it, toasted perfectly on the top side of his bread is the face of Jesus Christ himself. Now I know what you're thinking. This is the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. And you'd be right, but stay with me for a second. Throughout the episode, we see Finn worship this cheesy lord, and he seems to be blessed with all his desires thanks to worshiping it. The reason I love this episode so much is because it juxtaposes Finn's fucking absurd plotline with Kurt, whose father is in a coma in the hospital. At this point, you're probably asking, how the fuck do you compare a dumbass kid worshiping a grilled cheese sandwich to a kid whose dad might die? Ladies and gentlemen, that's the magic of Glee. You see, there's no other show that had the balls to repeatedly hit on the most sensitive topics while simultaneously making fun of it from all angles. The show somehow gives all perspectives and makes fun of every single one of them, hoping that the audience gets some reward out of it at the end. The show bounces between the utterly ridiculous plotline of Finn and his grilled cheese deity to Kurt and his potentially dying father like it's jump rope at recess. And that's what makes it work. You can't just talk about a topic as sensitive as religion in a strictly serious way when the rest of the show isn't like that. But you also can't have your main vessel of teenage spirituality be connected to a fucking grilled cheese. Finn starts off as someone who isn't religious at all, but because of his new lord cheesiness, decides to give prayer a try. One after another, all of his prayers are answered, and Finn becomes a devout follower to Grilled Cheesus. His football team wins, he becomes the quarterback again, and he even gets to touch his girlfriend's boobs. Praise the Lord. That being said, Finn eventually comes to Emma to confess that Sam got hurt as a result of his prayers, and that he feels guilty. Emma assures him that all of his wishes are occurring naturally and not because of his prayers, which kind of leaves him feeling disappointed because it means that he doesn't have this direct lifeline to God anymore. He starts to question his spirituality and even sings a song about losing faith. At the end of the episode, Finn decides to eat the holy grilled cheese and go on with his life. What a weird show, man. When Finn comes to the club with his newfound belief and urges the club to sing about Jesus this week, Kurt has some issues with it in the realm of, I'm gay and a lot of churches don't exactly love that. Soon after, he's informed that his dad recently had a heart attack and isn't waking up. This is definitely one of the first real oh shit moments that happened in the show, and it's when he realized that this isn't just a camp little silly show anymore. For the most part. Okay, I know. He ends up talking to his unconscious father, and it is rough. The next day in Glee, Mercedes decides to sing a religious song to Kurt in hopes that he'll feel her support, and instead, he reveals that he doesn't even believe in God, much to the surprise of everyone else. He explains how him being gay, yet punished for it, is ridiculous, and frankly would make God a jerk. Kurt is definitely the outlier here, and he seemingly diminishes God to a fantasy that he himself doesn't believe in. Kurt's atheism as he grapples with his father's condition is the main vessel we see in the episode for the debate. The club disagrees on whether they should even be allowed to sing spiritual songs, and Kurt even calls those who disagree with him mental patients. Kurt certainly presents a more cynical and frankly mean point of view, while Sue is a bit more rational, but we'll get to her later. But then again, he thought his dad might die, so, we'll give him a little leeway. One of the big moments of the episode comes when Kurt sees some of his classmates singing religious songs to his father, and he basically kicks them out. Later on though, Mercedes is able to convince Kurt to come with her to church on Sunday for a service specifically dedicated to his dad. And when he goes, he's greeted with support and love. His openness to put himself in a position that makes him uncomfortable shows growth on the topic, and proves to us that even when we disagree, we can still feel support. Kurt goes on to see his dad again, and tells him that he wishes he let his friends pray for them, that it wasn't about him, but about their prayers for his struggling father. Sue's brief story really represents an important angle to this. She reveals that she worshipped her older sister as a kid, yet everyone else would make fun of her. She prayed and prayed for her to get better, then realized eventually that no one was listening. When Emma retorts her sentiment by calling it arrogant, she responds that it's as arrogant as those who believe, saying anyone who doesn't will go to hell. Sue's perspective came at a time when being an atheist wasn't quite as common as it is now, and having arguably the most popular character in a mainstream show discuss a controversial topic so openly was huge. Sue ends up talking to her own sister about it, who still believes in God despite all the bad things that have happened to her. I guess the important thing about this episode is that it shows us that there's no need for such a divide. Yes, of course everyone is entitled to their own beliefs on if God or whatever else is real, but what the show conveys is that there can be a whole spectrum of feelings on the topic. The episode does such a good job of taking characters far on each spectrum and shifting them towards a more understanding and empathetic view, even if they disagree. By the end, Finn understands that maybe believing God doesn't always get you what you want, and Kurt realizes that even if he himself doesn't believe, that doesn't mean that the love coming from others is meaningless. Being able to appreciate and respect all sides is really the key takeaway, and I think the episode did a great job in balancing the seriousness of the topic with a comatose dad and a guy worshipping a grilled cheese. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I love Glee. I'm rewatching it now. I know it has some issues, it really does, but I try to view it for its time and also criticize what needs to be criticized. But yeah, I might do another video on Glee, maybe about Finn, because he's my baby. Maybe about the quarterback, but that's really depressing, so that would probably be later on. But yeah, if you like the video, make sure to subscribe. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. When Finn comes to the club with his newfound belief and urges the club to sing about Jesus this week, bars,